The extent of my knowledge about the United Nations is whatever I learned from Winning London, the Mary Kate and Ashley film. So I was really looking forward to watching Mickey's Field Trip to the United Nations. This was released in 1989, it's directed by Dan Schroeder and written by Jamie Simons. And because it was released in 1989, I did take everything with a pinch of salt, but I actually did do a little bit of fact checking while I was watching it. And there are things that were said in this that are still the case. And I found this to be really fascinating. Mickey Mouse and two children visit the United Nations in New York, and while they're there, they learn about all of the things that happen at the UN and what the purpose of it is. And I think everything. I'll be frank. First of all, I knew the purpose of the UN. My knowledge wasn't that lacking, but I think everything's explained very well. So young children watching this, I think, can get a really clear, basic understanding of what the UN is and what it stands for and what the purpose of it is. I think that's all explained very, very well. They then meet a lot of different people who are working at the UN and what their roles are, and we learn about interpreters. I didn't know that there were 6 official languages spoken at the UN, and I googled it, and that does still seem to be the case, and I found that to be really interesting because I had no idea about that. And of course, we get to see a lot of the inside of the UN, which is really awesome because I had never, to my knowledge, seen inside the UN. So that was really great. Very well filmed. We do get a really great sense of the size of it. Definitely got a sense of the size of the building. Very, very big. And there are a lot of different people and a lot of, well, obviously a lot of different nations represented. And we get to see loads of flags, and I am shamefully unable to identify most of them. I'm not great with flags, but I learned a lot about this, and I think everything is explained very well, as I said, and it's quite fascinating, and the children ask a lot of questions, which obviously prompts answers from the people they're speaking with, and I found it to be really, really quite eye-opening. And as I said, yes, it was 1980s, so things might be different now, processes might be different, and the interiors might be different. For all I know, it could be a completely different building. I have no idea. But obviously, the bare facts are still the same. And what the UN stands for is still the same. And it was an absolute joy to watch. If you're a fan of Mickey's Field Trips in general, this is definitely worth watching. I'd say it's one of the more intense installments because a lot of them they're just going to a police station or an airport, and it's not quite as politically heavy as the UN, but it still has an entertaining quality to it while being very factual and informative and eye-opening, and I rather enjoyed it. Without question, Mickey's Field Trip to the United Nations was one that I really thoroughly enjoyed and found rather educational.